This is a game, and it was made using only UI elements. And let me tell you why that was a mistake. Recently, I was having a kind and civilized conversation on Twitter with Ikoso.
You stink. You a stinky boy.
And I told him that I really liked his new video and the thumbnail for that video, when he told me he wanted to minimize his thumbnails as much as possible and eventually expects to end up with just the color, to which I replied, this. And that is exactly what I'm doing. So to stay true to this video's thumbnail, which is slightly different from what I originally tweeted, I'm making a game about keeping your screen clear from anything and everything except from a simple image. And to do that, I decided to only use Unity's UI elements. Please save my soul. This may not be as difficult as making a game using only particles, but it still wasn't very fun. So in this game you play as this beautiful cursor that I carefully drew by hand all by myself by clicking a bunch of buttons. And the game will try to fill up your screen with colors, which you need to prevent so you can keep staring at this other image that I definitely drew with my totally existent art skills. I made the cursor follow the mouse position and gave the tip of the finger a collider. You can do fancy code to check if you're hovering over objects with your mouse or if you clicked on something with your mouse, and I could have then used this sprite to be the physical cursor in Unity, but I didn't. One, because that would make it tiny and big hand looks more fun than small hand, but mostly because I had the choice between doing that and then having to find the right pivot point to make the actual cursor positioned at the tip of the finger, or just using colliders and putting that at the tip of the finger. And I'm lazy, so I did it this way. It's also the best way. I then added a little target image and made that show up when you clicked for visual feedback. But what are you clicking, you ask? Great question. No, like for real, it's a good question. These tiny circles will spread around the screen and grow to become massive balls.
He said balls.
That will take over your screen and cover this beautiful image. Using more colliders, I just made it so when you click them, they shrink again, and when they're small enough, they are destroyed. If you don't mind, we can move past the part where I realized that my game's canvas size was wrong, and we can just pretend that that never happened. Because it didn't, okay? It never happened. I made it so the time between the circle spawning decreases with time to make the game more difficult the longer you play, and even added a few power-ups to make things more interesting. Like this reset button that represents resetting that time between circle spawning, or this star that increases the shrink speed when you hit them, and this one with a 2 on it that increases the score multiplier. Oh, yeah, I added a score system and give you 1 point for each circle that you destroy. Very cool. There was just one problem though, and no, it is not the UI stuff yet. Trust me, we'll get there. The game is incredibly boring. It wasn't supposed to be anything special, but I'd rather watch Mortal Engines again than play this game. Actually, I take that back. Please do not make me watch that movie again. The concept wasn't fun or challenging in any way. You just knew you'd lose at some point, and the way to get there was mind-numbingly tedious. So instead, I added another ball.
He said balls again.
This ball you'd control. Instead of manually clicking circles, which now have very angry faces that are telling you not to mess with them, you now have to launch a ball in their direction and pray that it hits them. I don't understand physics, really, but that didn't keep me from getting this right on my first try. I am a pro game developer. And that made the game so much more fun. You can even see how much power your ball has when letting go, because I added a slider inside it and used the mask component to hide the edges so it's only inside the ball. Huh, guess UI isn't so terrible after all. Well, that is where you're wrong, kiddo. When I tried to add polish to the game, as I've been doing with my minimalistic city builder, Le Chateau, I realized one thing. First, that you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, which you should probably do, but also that particles and UI do not match well. Cause unfortunately, I cannot have UI elements explode with tiny UI elements when the ball hits them unless I pay 40 bucks. And I just bought Factorio for my Nintendo Switch, so I'm broke. This meant that I had to improvise massively to make things look polished. But honestly, I think I did a decent job. Enemies now wiggle around, and when they are hit, they rotate indefinitely while they shrink to their inevitable deaths. The ball does a little pop when the game starts, and it also does another pop when you punch it. The score does a funky dance when you get a point, and the hand squeezes a bit when you hit the ball. And if you add sound effects and a juicy soundtrack that is totally not AI generated, you have this game. So yeah, I did make a game. And it's free to play right now, link in the description below. Seriously, it's free, so you might as well. Or otherwise, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all next time. Yeah.